Hey, what's up guys? Ryan Schultz here from E39source in San Diego, California. It's January 2025 and we're just about to kick off a pretty massive restoration on this 2001 E39 525i automatic. This car brings back a lot of memories for me specifically. I've never seen this car before. It's here from the Midwest, actually. Made a bit of a journey to get here. You may remember years ago, I myself owned a 2002 E46 330xi, finished in Topaz blue, which I think is one of BMW's finest blue colors. I absolutely adore this blue. I think more people should have ordered these because it's, well, pretty darn rare. And then of course my friend Kenan, his first car was a 2001 E39 Topaz Blue 525i. His was a 5-speed manual, this one's an automatic, but they've both got the gray interior, chrome line. Kenan's had style 5 wheels, the real wiry 17-inch wheel. But get a look at this interior. The seats, the door panels, the dash, the floor mats, the center console wood trim. This is the starting point for this restoration. This is as bad as it's ever going to look. Gonna look at the rear seat. Looks like it was used maybe once in about 2004. Again in 2014. It's just incredible. This thing's a time capsule. And it's not without imperfections, certainly. A lot of the suspension's original. This door sill has failed completely and is loose. Vapor barrier in this door has failed, of course, causing the sill to look like that. We're actually on aftermarket wheels here. These look like the E36M3 soccer ball wheel, but these are 16s, and I can't find a genuine part number for this style wheel in a 16-inch size. So I've got to assume that they're aftermarket, and we will be changing the wheels as part of our service. Paint and body is an easy 9 out of 10. There's only a small handful of imperfections around the car. You may notice the ding right there in that rear right door. We'll have that repaired. There's a small scratch on the roof over here that was pre-existing, of course, to us having the car. He noted that for the transporter. But at the end of the day, this is a 24-year-old vehicle that has accomplished 106,436 miles. It's a relatively base 525. In fact, you'll notice the HVAC or climate control panel here is the manual version, which I have only ever seen on one other E39. That's a 525 wagon. This one obviously is sedan, so we don't have the automatic climate control, and that changes the rear vents as well. If we can get a look back there, we don't have the little temperature knob, just the vent open and close dial. You may have noticed the passenger seat is a manual seat, not an electric seat. That was part of the, I believe, the comfort package back in the day. So we've got no sunshades, no parking beepers, no DSP. Your DSP cars would have a toggle button here, audio, and then a DSP switch. So we can tell that from there. Our instrument cluster is low OBC, or low onboard computer, meaning we don't have the pixel display that fails, but you get this kind of nasty little noise if you try to leave the car with the lights on. Presently, we've got the original wood trim, and considering the age, it's in excellent condition, though it's not without its imperfections. They all get a little bit of cracking there in the lacquer. So he's got me on the hunt for a real clean set of another type of E39 trim that I do hope to find. But I think it goes without saying, condition is key with this car, and we need to be very careful to find parts that are really only in about a 9.8 out of 10 condition. So you see some more scratches here in that right finisher. They all seem to crack here along this little rubber insert. And I think there's a few cracks in the rear door trims as well. We'll have a very healthy mix of mechanical, cosmetic, suspension, driveline, brake, wheel, tire, interior, exterior, paint and body. We'll have a little bit of everything on this ticket. And as I've said, this is the starting point. I mean, this is already in better shape than a lot of cars that come in here for kind of a round one. And it takes a big investment to make them look like this. Coming around the front here, we'll see the headlights are pretty tired and full of stone chips in the front bumper, front end, to be expected with 100,000 miles. But we do, in fact, already have fresh headlights ready to go. Windshield seal, certainly original. Obviously something we'll be tending to here in the upcoming weeks. So this is really just an intro to kind of show you how it came in, what our starting point looks like. I'm going to turn Alan loose on this car this week, our head technician, and let him just go to town. So unfortunately, I'm not available to be out in the shop every day with a camera filming every nut and bolt getting turned, but I'll do my best to periodically check in with some updates, some comparisons of original parts versus new parts, and then certainly we'll have a bunch of clips here at the end really showing how we're able to transform this 525. Okay, I want you to listen closely now. All the doors are unlocked. we're going to ask it to lock. All at different times. This front right door in particular is very, very slow and lazy. We're seeing this more and more commonly now on low mileage E39s. And what's low mileage? Well, 10,000 miles a year is kind of an industry average between 10 and 12. And we're at 24 years with only 100,000 miles. So this is now considered low mileage. And these door lock actuator motors, of course, are electric and they like to move. The high mileage cars we get, 200 plus, they seem to be okay. But you get to the low mileage cars and they start to slow down. If these guys fail in the locked position, it's called double lock mode. You can't just open the door from the inside. You can't get it from the outside. Destruction of the interior door panel is required to replace that actuator. And I don't know that I could bring myself to do such a thing. Look at that panel. So obviously it is prudent to take care of those actuator motors long before they fail. If you fire them a bunch of times in a row, they'll loosen up a little bit. But once the car sits overnight, you'll find actuators that fail to fire once again. I'm going to have a look under the hood of the glorious M54 B25 2.5 liter inline six. We've got quite a bit of coolant residue here, and since this car has arrived, it's developed a coolant leak, which is no fear because we're rebuilding the entire cooling system per customer request. He wants this to be reliable again, be able to take it on long distances, kind of far away from city centers or vehicle service facilities. So it will get a completely fresh cooling system, which will certainly fix that leak. Note the firewall trim has crumbled apart, kind of par for the course even with low mileage. It's an age function. This is supposed to be plastic. I'm going to be mad at myself as I've got to clean this up, but yeah. There's more coolant residue up here on the hood pad, and it looks like at some point some mice or rodents got in here, probably made a nice cozy little home on top of the shock tower here, and had themselves Christmas dinner. Rear seal is likely original as well. It's starting to fail and flake apart in the corner. So top and bottom corners that always go first. And if you feel that, that's much harder than it should be and more like plastic. We'll see some of the plastics in here are deteriorating, broken clips, split. And you may notice that the interior, kind of the headliner material on the shelf there is just loosened up. Glue has failed. It's real loose. And that unfortunately carries on to the primary headliner as well. It's the grab handle pockets and more notably, the visor pockets in the front, where that really starts to sag and fail. All right, guys, we're going to check in. We're a week into this. Alan's the head technician on this project, and it's been all underbody, driveline, suspension, brakes, and engine service so far. We haven't dug into any cosmetics, but he's taken a moment to kind of lay out all the old parts here. Here they are. We're going to start in the rear. H-arms, stabilizer links, integral links, ball joints, wishbones, toe arms, rotors, brake hose, brake pads. That's all just one corner. And I actually just did a suspension service on my 540 and found the same thing to be true there. So take a look at that H-arm. It's scrawny, it's spindly, it's a totally different design to that on the M5. And the new component, this is not an M5 H-arm, this is a 525 or standard E39 H-arm. Looks different, looks like an M5 H-arm. It's the same shape now, it's a lot thicker, there's just more body, more material here. I think it's a better part, and that seems to have been facelifted or superseded at some point in the past. So par for the course on these, it's the front inner bushings that dry out and fail. And you can't even really see it when it's on the ground like this. But with the weight of the car on there, you'll find some big tears and cracks in these front inner bushings. Not to mention, sometimes get a bit of play from this rear inner bushing. And then at the outside, of course, is your integral link, ball joint, and a really long, expensive bolt. That bolt's about $40 now. That goes through that. Integral links are kind of a no-brainer when everything is apart this far. These are really affordable parts with bushings pressed in there. I don't know in this lighting if you can see the crack in that or not, but that is a worn component, original at this mileage. The right tool makes the ball joints a breeze, otherwise it's a really bad long day. Ask me how I know, but that whole bushing is split around the perimeter. It's the old differential bushings. If these are original in your E39, they are due. This one's dated 2001. Don't see any bad cracking in this. The 525 doesn't put out a tremendous amount of torque to stress these. but they still do dry out. They can crack, they can tear, and if nothing else, just get hard and make for an unpleasant ride. Front mounts a weak point, especially on the 540 and M5. Drive shaft CV joint, drive shaft center support bearing. Ooh, not looking too good here. Rubber's completely fallen apart, bearing is separated. Some of that may have been from the removal process, but that was definitely an aged component. Moving up to the flex disc. Yep, just dry, hard, and cracking. Transmission mounts, and now we're on to the front axle, where we've got straight wishbones, curved thrust arms, fresh wheel bearings, pads, rotors, brake hoses, spring clips, motor mounts, fan shroud, a lot of coolant pipes, many of which have already been discarded, but complete cooling system overhaul on this car, inclusive of radiator, water pump, thermostat, expansion tank, every rubber hose, the shroud, belts, pulleys, all the goodies. It's the original fender liners. Pan over to ignition coils. Those were original and are being replaced preventatively. Get a look at the original motor mount here. Doesn't look terribly collapsed, but definitely some cracking and some dry rotting in that rubber. Wishbone is dated 2001, so that's an original part. Ball joint hadn't completely failed yet, but the inner ones here are pretty dry. And now a look at the fresh components. Anywhere you see a red line is just the technician marking that as torqued to factory spec. So it's real easy to look at the end of the project and ensure that everything is complete and buttoned down properly. The shocks up here, you have an L indicating left. You line that up with the gap there in the wheel carrier to indicate proper alignment. And you guessed it, an R on the right. See, we still have a level sensor arm to connect for the xenon headlight suspension level sensor, but the rest of this is really looking magnificent. Differential was sanded and painted. He had some rust in there, so this is a high heat black paint that should keep that differential protected for many, many years. CV front mount. We're not using a unicorn egg on this. This is the stock front mount, which is very unpleasant to install, but it's in there. Rear upper arms, the plastic cable holders here for our pad wear sensor. Cleaned up the factory sway bar, factory aluminum mounts. Diff rear cover was resealed as well. Subframe cleaned up, and the Turner stainless brake lines. From January to June, just like that. This has been a long one, pretty comprehensive overhaul, as we made clear in those earlier clips. And we're approaching delivery day. It's early June 2025, and this 525 looks like a totally different car. Check out those Style 32s. Of course, I had hoped to film more of the process of the work actually being done. Unfortunately, my administrative role here now all but prohibits that. And time, unfortunately, is an asset that I have very little of these days. But in those last clips, we talked about the front and rear suspension work, wheel bearings, differential, driveline, into the fender liners. So we're going to go ahead and skip that since we've actually seen those parts. I'm holding a 27-page invoice here in my left hand, so I apologize for some paper noise as I fumble through this. But continuing on with the mechanical work, we ended up doing a oil pan gasket, and the M54 inline 6, it's not an upper and a lower pan, it's one big oil pan, and that requires subframe removal to get that done. So subframe came out, obviously they're in line with the suspension work, and we got that pan gasket replaced. Naturally, we did an oil change after that. We're using Castrol Edge full synthetic 5W30 in the M54 and M62 for this climate. Additionally, on the engine, it's got a new AC compressor in conjunction with that cooling system work we mentioned. That's every belt, every pulley, every hose, every single component of the cooling system. How about another M54 reveal? This time, it's clean. And it's beautiful. Look at all the fresh and clean plastics in here. Just a tremendous improvement over the way it came in. We've got new firewall trim there in the back. You may remember that was crumbling apart in pieces, and I got to clean it off my parking lot. And we've introduced two aftermarket components here. We don't do much of that, but we've got the Euro brand brass bleeder screw here in addition to the one on the upper hose. That's a really cheap, really easy, and really sensible part to add to this car. The factory plastic ones, through enough thermal cycles and time, just fail. And then you've got a leak, you're calling a tow truck. This part won't fail. The low pressure power steering hoses are new as well. Those are the lines in and out of the reservoir. We've got a new intake boot. It's the lower one that we can't really see very well right now, but that's a common failure. Those get just really dry and hard and crack, and then you've got to air leak after the mass airflow sensor, which always causes misfires or lean-rich conditions, and sometimes are difficult to diagnose because you really don't get a good look at that until you look up under the car and see that crack near the throttle body. On a job of this scale, I think it goes without saying, but I will mention it, all filters, all fluids new, engine air filter, cabin filters, fuel filter, and every single liquid in the car is new. If you've got an E39, run to your garage, because this is something that is wrong on almost every single one. It took me years to figure this out. I know I've discussed it before, but we're going to do it again. The lower cabin airbox is here, interface with the cowl, right here at that gap. And what you need, not what you want, what you need to happen here is the cowl, the upper piece, needs to sit on top of the lower filter box. If installed the other way, you've got a gap there, and enough water, if that's from rain or a hose or a car wash, will get down in there and flood that cavity underneath the cabin box. On this side, you've got your brake booster. That's got vacuum lines in it. If those vacuum lines ingest water, pumps it into the engine, you'll hydrolock the engine. On the right or passenger side of the vehicle, underneath this box is the DME box. That's your engine computer. In this case, an automatic TC or transmission control unit's there as well. If that gets full of water, well, I don't have to tell you, computers don't like water. So it's a little bit tricky to install, but essentially you put the box in at this angle, get it seated here. You can lift the cowl up over it and then drop it down, allowing the little tabs in the cowl to go through the cabin box, and that acts as the hinge for the door. Down we pan to the beautiful Hella Euro xenon headlights, and this set right here is the last set of these that I will ever sell brand new. I knew this day was coming. I hoped it wouldn't be as soon as it is, but this is the last set. These are discontinued. They're no longer available worldwide. Hella had been threatening to cease production of these lights for years. They had announced it in the past. My vendor and I were always able to kind of talk Hella into producing another batch, another production run. And we tried that again this time, and unfortunately learned that the tooling, the equipment, the manufacturing equipment used to produce these headlights had been incinerated. It's destroyed. The item is removed from Hella's catalog, and you cannot buy them anymore in any capacity. So unfortunately for new E39 headlights, we're limited to non-xenon versions or the American version through a BMW dealership. American version, of course, is mostly the same, but just has the orange corner over here. Those are still available at a ridiculously inflated price, and I don't know how many sets are left, but likely not many. As we discuss lights, we did some bulb changes in the rear. This is really common for the E39 now. Almost any time I see one of these cars in traffic with the turn signal on, while they still work, the bulbs are really faded, they're really white looking, and it just looks tired, it looks worn out. These are supposed to be amber. Let me turn the hazards on and we'll see. It's pretty bright out here right now, but I think you can get a good idea. That is a nice amber or orange color in the bulb. It just looks fresh, looks the way it should. And obviously at the cost of just a few bulbs, that's a really cheap fix. Back to the engine bay, we've got a couple new items to highlight here. Number one is that hood pad. We had seen the rodents or mouse damage before. We've got a brand new hood pad installed. Fits really well, no shrinkage. Stays nice and tight down here by the washers. We've got new hood struts as well. The old ones were just weak, not doing a nice job of holding up the hood. On to the windshield, we've got a fresh, genuine BMW piece of glass in here, of course accompanied with a brand new windshield seal, in addition to the windshield cowl down here. Driver's side mirror glass was previously delaminating. Just had a bunch of discoloration along the perimeter. A common cause for that, I don't believe the cause in this case, but a common cause for that failure is the ambient temperature sensor. Of course, that lives down in the pork chop or the underbody panels of the car, kind of right behind the right front fog light. If that sensor is damaged, missing, or fails, for whatever reason, the instrument cluster reports its lowest possible reading of -40 degrees Fahrenheit. And the mirrors use that temperature to determine if the heating element needs to activate. So if you're driving around for weeks, months, or years with a missing sensor, just thinking, well, I don't care about the temperature, I can tell what it is on my phone, what you're doing is cooking the hell out of your side mirror glass because it thinks you're at the North Pole. So it turns the heaters on full blast. In hot weather like today's about 86 degrees, that would cook that mirror in just a few weeks, and you'd see that delamination in the glass. We've got new struts for the trunk as well, so it's super easy to open now. And then he was missing a couple of tools, which have been replaced with genuine parts. The trunk rondelle was starting to lose its paint. It was turning into a chrome circle, so that's been replaced. Get a look inside the fuel cap here. Look at that. This is a Midwest car with zero rust on that weld. And if you've got an E39, you know how commonly, frequently, and easily those can rust out. And we do have a new fuel cap here with tether. That is supposed to be there. This is a cheap and easy part to replace. Several items here inside for the front left or driver's door. We've got a brand new genuine BMW sill, in addition to the gray kick plate here, or threshold strip. The door brake is new. This is the hinging piece that allows the door to stop at one of a few positions when opening. It's real common now that those are creaking or clicking. Some of them squeak and hiss. They sound terrible. Doesn't feel right. The plastic cracks out on there. So we've got a new door brake. We have a new window regulator. Door lock actuator has been replaced, vapor barrier resealed, in addition to the rubber gasket on the body along the entire opening for the door. Rear left door has a new lock actuator and window regulator as well. And then on the outside, we've done the quarter window seals. These are the little rubber gaskets or seals that go around this window. It's a lot of labor to detrim the door. I did a video on this a year or two ago on my 540, how to take off all the trims and then have somebody come in here like a glass installer, actually remove the glass, install the new seal, and then reinstall the glass. And the reason we don't do that in-house is because this pane of glass is glued into the door. It kind of turns the service into more of an art than a science. I am very much a science guy, and our glass installers are phenomenal. So these guys get the glass fitment and justification perfectly. Before that glue dries, it'll move around in there several millimeters. And if you don't get it set right before it dries, none of your trims will fit right again. And as you see here, we've got really nice, tight and flush fitment, exactly how it should be. Rear right door has a new seal as well, just as the left side. We've got a new BMW door sill here. You saw that had gotten pretty nasty from the failed vapor barrier. We have a new lock actuator, freshly sealed vapor barrier, and this rubber gasket on the body is new, just like the front left. You may remember the door ding we had in this rear right door, and that's a thing of the past. Our PDR guy's really good. And the front right door's got a new kick panel there in gray, in addition to the body seal around the chassis and the door lock actuator and vapor barrier. Seat side trim is new. This is really common to A, take on some kind of cosmetic damage up in that corner. B, the trailing tab here. You have to fold the seat back to really see it, but that very commonly breaks, which allows this to kind of fall out, rub into the lower B pillar, and then make a bunch of unpleasant noises over bumps and when driving. I'm gonna come into the interior now, and it's a pretty hot day, so let's get some AC going here. I'm still thrown off by this, but it's plenty intuitive. So on the interior, let's go over to the armrest here. We've got a new tray, a new handle, par for the course, typical E39 work. We did a repair on the lower dashboard here when installing this trim, which thankfully we were able to find a beautiful set of technical graphite or cubic trim. It is not perfect, but it is darn good for its age. Anyhow, commonly you'll find that the vinyl here in the lower dash on the far outboard fastener there by the passenger door, it's a real thin area where that clip goes in and it breaks. And then the clip doesn't stay tight, which means your trim, regardless of what that is, sticks out into the cabin right there at that edge. So we're able to go in there with some epoxy, make a repair in the vinyl, get that clip to seat, and then our trim's nice and flush again. In my opinion, this is a much better look than the wood, much cleaner, more modern, and really looks nice with the black and gray two-tone interior. Hiding down here in the shadows, we've got a new dead pedal, the gray non-M5 version. Old one had just kind of yellowed and faded and didn't look fresh anymore. The glove box was opening too abruptly, so like I did on my M5 many years ago, we've installed a new damper. Now we move up to the headliner. So we had noted that there was some sagging. It's real clean. There were a couple light imperfections, but it had gotten pretty saggy. This 525 now has an identical headliner to my 540, and while the material isn't an exact match of BMW's original gray, it is, in my opinion, better. This has more backing, more material glue, less chance of it sagging again in the future. We're nice and tight up here in the handle pockets in addition to the visors. And my favorite thing about this redone headliner is because the material is thicker, it's quieter. The car feels more luxurious. You don't get as much wind noise or exterior noise. Of course, it's not silent. We're not in a Rolls Royce here, but it is a noticeable improvement over the thin factory material. The rear shelf was done as well, in addition to the plastic child safety latch covers. Here on the MID, we had some pixels out. This has been sublet for repair and looks new again. Everything works. To protect the interior and add to passenger comfort, we've had this vehicle tinted with Lumar Formula One Stratos 50% tint on all side windows in addition to the rear window. The 50% tint almost doesn't look like a tint in the right lighting. You can see inside the car a little bit of a fishbowl effect, which I do tend to like. This is kind of period correct for the car, but it also gives us that 99.9% UV rejection and excellent heat rejection with this quality film. Lastly, we're onto wheels and tires. So before we had those 16-inch replica E36 M3 wheels, Now we're on to genuine BMW style 32 wheels. This is what my personal 2002 540 has. Of course, it's got a staggered set. This is a square set of essentially front wheels. These are a 17 by 8-inch wide wheel that we can rotate since it's a square set. We've got these wrapped in new Michelin Pilot Sport all-season 4 tires. That's going to be a wrap on the 01 Topaz Blue 525. This is a transformed and restored vehicle ready for the next 100,000 plus miles. This has been a really fun and rewarding and gratifying project to work on a car that came in as nicely as it did and still makes such a profound impact in the way it looks and the way it drives, all of the above. Per customer request, I've done quite a bit of road testing and QC test driving in this vehicle, and I have enjoyed every single mile. It is so smooth and quiet and refined. It makes my 540 feel somehow unrefined, just the smoothness of the M54 inline six. It is not particularly powerful. It is not a sports car, but it is such a refined and brilliant cruising car. It'll be hard to say goodbye to this one, but we can't keep them all forever. Thanks so much for watching. Leave any comments or questions down below. I'll do my best to get back to you. If you've got a BMW of this vintage that you'd like to have any service or restoration work or inspection type work done on, please feel free to drop me a line, Ryan@E39source.com. We'd love the opportunity to work with you and improve your BMW. Again, thank you for watching. We'll talk in the next video. Take care.